Welcome back to Rifleman 2.0, and today we have an old, unusual sporting gun, the Stevens 22 410. Check it out with me. So this gun is actually on borrow from another channel creator, Buzzard's Breath Engine Nest. Check out his channel, the link is going to be in the description. He does some really fun stuff. And he's a fan of the channel here, so he says to me, go ahead and check this thing out, you're going to love it. So he gets it over to me, and I took one look at it, and I said, yep, you're right, I love it already. So let's take a closer look at this thing. Now the Stevens here is an over-under 22 410 rifle/shotgun. You heard me right, rifle/shotgun. And it has the two barrels. It's going to have the barrel on the top, which is going to be the 22, and then it's going to be the bottom barrel will be the 410. Makes a lot of sense because the top barrel is a lot smaller, right? And the way to load her up is you'll have the thumb lever right here, just up the side, and she kicks open, brake action, right? Load your 22 in the top, load your 410 in the bottom. Now, as far as this gun goes, it is truly a small game sportsman's gun. This thing is pretty much suited for any job you could want. If you want a more precision shot, just switch it over to the 22 barrel. If you want to just blast something out of a tree, switch it over to the 410. Now I'm going to show you how to switch those barrels up. So because it's an over-under, you're not going to blast them both at the same time. It's only a single trigger. So the way to do this, there is a switch right here on the side, and if you flip it up, it's going to be for the 22 barrel, and if you flip it down, it's going to be for the 410 barrel. Very simple, right? And then when you've shot both shots, you just break it open, and they both have their own ejectors. They'll kick them out. And when we do the live fire, you're going to see how this actually works out. Now you can load without one or the other. So if you want to just do single shot 22, just keep loading 22s, don't put in a shell. And it's a regular single shot break action. Same thing with the 410. Load the shell, shoot it, take it out, load it again, close it up, ready to go. Now I was trying to research this thing and I did not find a whole lot of information. Basically all I found that these Stevens models, they were manufactured between 1938 and 1950 when they were ultimately discontinued. The older ones have an actual wooden stock. This is plastic stock, so it looks nice, but hey, it is what it is. But there are no serial numbers on these older ones. Trust me, I looked all over this darn thing. I tried looking around, I tried to find a little bit more info on it, and the best I could find is they started introducing the plastic stocks at the tail end of World War II around 1946. So I can pretty much gauge this thing from 1946 to 1950. That's the best that I can do. But all in all, it is in great shape. Our friend over there at Buzzard's Breath Engine Nest did a pretty good job keeping this thing preserved. And it looks like everything operates just fine. So let's check out some of the other details of this thing. Now as far as the sights go on it, the 22 barrel is going to feature these very simple drift adjustable slider sights for the rear sight, and the front is going to be a very simple front sight post. Now with the 410 barrel, obviously with it being a shotgun, you could just go ahead and utilize that front sight post and that'll work just fine. So first I'm going to test out that 22 barrel. We're going to find out just how accurate that single shot is. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to do 10, 25, and 50 yards with the 22, and we're going to do 10 and 25 yards with the 410 to see how well the spread is. Now for ammunition today, we're going to be using CCI 22 standard velocity going 1,070 feet per second. As for the 410s, we're going to have the Winchester Super X 3-inch number 6 shot. These are pretty good. I like these. I shoot these a lot. So let's get it started at the 10. Okay, so let's go ahead and get it started. Now the reason I chose to start off at 10 yards, pretty reasonably, this is going to be your range that you're going to be shooting at for some small game, squirrels, maybe a rabbit or whatever. Remember, this is all just for small game. And usually if you kick something up or you spot it in a tree, it'll probably be about 10 yards out. So I just loaded up my 22. And I'm going to be going for the top right corner. I'm going to be putting 5 into that target. Let's check it out. All right. Manual ejection. cock that hammer. Bit of a heavy trigger, but for a field gun, that's not a big deal. Extractor's not all that great, barely pops it out, so if you got gloves on your hands, good luck. Obviously, with it being a 22, there's no recoil whatsoever, but heck, this gun is actually fairly hefty, so if there was any recoil, you wouldn't feel it anyway. Last shot. Let's see how we did. There's your 5-shot group. I kicked one off to the side. The other 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can clearly see that little weird rainbow pattern. That's doing pretty good. Now at 10 yards, it is hitting a bit high, so you can always make adjustment from there. But if this was a squirrel, let's say a squirrel's head is probably about that big, yep, that'll do it. Okay, so we're sitting pretty at 10 yards, and I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and do it at 15 also, because this is another reasonable distance that you're going to be hunting small game from. So pretty much from that tree limb or off in the bush somewhere. At 10 yards, she's already plenty accurate, but it's hard to miss at 10 yards. So we're going to do 15, then bump back 25. All right, here we go. And we're going to be doing the top left circle. Yeah, as I might have mentioned before, that's a pretty heavy trigger, but for a field gun, that's not so bad. Third shot. All right, last shot. Tell you what, this is an easy shooting rifle for a fact. Let's see how we did. All right, well, it's still going a bit high. We had 2 that went up pretty good, but there's 2 in this hole right here. So 1, 2, 3 right here. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So let's bump it back to 25. Okay, so we're here at 25 yards. And from the 10 and 15, they are obviously going a bit high, but that's just sight elevation, that's all that is. If you get to know this thing pretty good, you got no problems. It's still very minute a squirrel, so I don't think there's going to be any issue as far as that goes. But here at the 25, we're going to see what happens. So it's going to be the low left target we're going to be aiming for. It's kind of fun to hear that thump. And I guess if you really wanted to, you could mount a scope on this, but I can't imagine why you would. All right, number 5. Let's see how we did. Well, here we are at 25, and it looks like we're starting to spread out a bit. But with open sights, it's kind of expected. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. And still going a bit high. So with an elevation adjustment, you can always fix that. But if you look at it, and you had a good eye for what your sights are on this particular rifle shotgun, you're still going to nail a squirrel, you're still going to nail a rabbit, the raccoon, or whatever you're aiming at. You're still going to get it. Alrighty, now we're here at the 50. And I'm going to aim central on that target because at this range, it is getting a little bit harder to see those smaller targets. So if I aim central, should be no issue. And I'm wondering if we're going to have enough drop that's going to put them right in the center of that target, because obviously I'm shooting for groups here. I'm not shooting for bullseye. Otherwise, I'd be tinkering with the sights and stuff. But I'm kind of wondering if it's going to hit bullseye at this range. But one way to find out. Let's do it. Last shot. Alright, so that's 50 yards. The tripod started giving me trouble, but I think we ended up getting it. And at 50 yards, that target's looking like an orange blur, so kind of wonder what this is going to look like. Now at 50 yards, is that what this rifle's really meant for? I mean, it'll do it. I mean, as we're about to see, but we're going to see what kind of accuracy we get. And there we have it at 50 yards. That's a pretty solid spread. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yikes, that's a little bit big. So I don't know if I'd be taking 50-yard shots with this thing at a rabbit or a squirrel, but that's kind of what we're looking at. So here we are again at 10 yards. Now we're going to do the 410. And I think I'm going to change it up. I'm going to do 10, 15, and 25 yards to test this barrel out. Now I ended up just pasting up the target down there because why should I burn a target for a shotgun? Obviously I'm going to paste up new targets after I blast it with these, but we'll see. So here we go, number 6, 3-inch shell. Popped it in, real simple. And then remember, we got to switch the barrel down, otherwise we're going to be shooting blanks, right? Haha. So here we go at 10 yards. And pretty much all I used was that front sight right there real quick. I was real tempted to use those rear sights like anything else, but that 410, this fairly hefty gun, no recoil. Let's check out the target. And at 10 yards, it's very clear that you're going to send that squirrel or rabbit to Valhalla very quickly. Very tight, and just mash it up real good. Let's bump it back. All right, here at 15 yards. It's going to be an easy shot yet again. But kind of wonder if the spread's going to come out much. Thump. Let's see how we did. And predictably, we're looking at a pretty good spread yet again. So let's see, we're looking at, the target's about a 1-foot circle. And if you're looking at the totality of it, all the way down to the bottom beads, you're probably looking at maybe 11-inch spread at 15 yards. So if it's sitting up in the tree or if it's kicked up out of a bush, you'll get it. Okay, now here we go on our last range test at 25 yards with the 410. And as we saw with the 22, this is probably the longest, most practical range for a trail gun. So we're going to see how well the 410 does at this range. That's a good thump. Let's go check it out. So at the 25, we are not looking that good. Look at how incredibly spread that is. You'll be lucky if you down something at that range. So 15, I think, maybe 20 would be your max optimal range, I suppose. At 10 yards, you'd probably just blast the thing apart. 15, 20. You'd knock it over, but at 25, you'd probably knock it out of a tree. You might wing it, but that's a heck of a spread. And they're very loose. There's no patterning whatsoever. So that's what we're looking at as far as practical accuracy at range for the 22 and the 410. Now, like I might have mentioned before, this is a purpose-made trail gun. This is a sporting gun. So this is made for small game while you're out picking around in the grass or the trail or something like that out in the woods. It's not made for long-range precision. It is made for kicking up a squirrel or a rabbit or something like that and see if you can get them. Now, we're going to see how well you can work with this thing and manipulate the controls, switching back and forth between the 22 and the 410 in case you were, let's say, shooting at a squirrel and then a rabbit takes off in front of you. And you're going to want to pop at it with the 410, right? Makes sense? So let's see how well we can do this. I'm going to shoot at the 2 dingers on each side, and then I'm going to try and blow the 2 bowling pins apart like this, trying to do a split. Kind of fun. All right, that was kind of fun. Okay, so now let's get interesting about it. That was just for fun. let's check out the actual bona fide dual purpose of this rifle shotgun. I set up 2 cans down there that I'm going to be using the rifle on, and I'm going to simulate the gopher spinner down there is a rabbit that kicked up, and I have to suddenly switch over to that 410 barrel. So this is going to be loaded with both the 22 and the 410, and you're going to see me do a reload with the 22 with the 410 still in there in reserve, and then the switch over, and then we're going to see how we do. All right, let's give it a go. So I'm going to load up the 22 and a 410 in the pipe there. I'm going to shoot 2 22s off primarily, and that 410 is going to come out to get the rabbit as it runs. Notice they didn't eject. That's why it doesn't have an auto ejector, so it doesn't kick the shells out, so you can do dual purpose. Oh, and the rabbit just kicked up. Switch it over, cock the hammer, and boom, you got it. So let's speed it up. Okay, so let's do this in real time. As you can see, I got the GoPro on so we can get double vision of this. But I'm gonna do a real time change load after shooting 2 squirrels, or the cans down there, and then the rabbit. Let's do it. That's pretty darn handy. Okay, let's do one more single rapid change up. So I'm going to hit the gopher, the yellow gopher down there with the 22, and then I'll blast the shaving cream can with the 410. And I just reached down and switched up to the 22. Let's do it. It'll do it. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for us today. What are my impressions? I am a fan. I am a big fan. Stevens really did it right with this shotgun rifle. But the only thing that I kept getting caught up on, well, I accidentally left it on the 410 when I meant it to be the 22. So if I was blasting at a squirrel and I wanted to get him in the bean, I'd get the whole thing. But anyway, you just gotta be mindful of which barrel you're on. And the only other issue that I ran into was I gotta remember it is in fact a single shot, so you're not gonna get that rapid follow-up shot like on a single trigger double barrel shotgun where you can just pop pop and off you go. You gotta treat it like a single shot every single time. But otherwise, she is plenty accurate. We saw that. We didn't really start seeing any issues until 25, when it started to open up a little bit, and at 50 obviously it opened up a whole lot. And then with the 410, I mean, this thing's a punisher, you know, until you reach about 25 yards, then it opens up. You're not going to hit hardly anything. But for a brush gun, for walking around, kicking around in the field or in the woods or something like that, you can't go wrong with this rifle shotgun. They knew what the heck they were doing back then in the 40s and the 50s, and even reaching back to the late 30s. Can you believe that? It's a very pretty gun. It is. Even though it's plastic, it's a very functional gun. It's a very durable gun. Maybe with the plastic, it's a little bit more weather resistant, I would imagine, than wood would be. But I mean, if I banged it on something, I'd probably crack the stock and destroy it. But otherwise, I'm a huge, huge fan. Love the darn thing. I'm going to go find one for myself. A big, big thank you to our friends over there at Buzzard's Breath Engine Nest for lending me this rifle shotgun. I had a blast. Hope you guys did too. I want to go out and shoot this thing a little bit more in the woods. I might even take it out, see if I can get some squirrels or something. But anyway, until then, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you guys next time.